This cost this man 2 weeks, and he was forced to make a public apology for this. Yes. For this. Hi, I'm Richard Jefferson, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Gap. Let's have some fun. In sports, people love to have the GOAT debate. Greatest of all time. But really, GOAT should stand for greatest opinion of all time. Because that's all it is. It's an opinion. With so many variables, how can you compare people across eras accurately without bias? You can't. For example, a recent Complex article tried to rate LeBron's best teammates, and somehow yours truly was not on it. So who really cares about rankings? I do. I care about rankings. Look, a recent NBC survey tried to create rankings on the most dominant couple in sports. What would be your guess? If you said D-Wade and Gabrielle Union, or Tom and Giselle, I'd have a hard time arguing. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of star power. But no, both members of the couple need to have played sports. So their Super Bowl winner, Zach Ertz, and his Olympic and World Cup winning wife, Julie, you'd be hard pressed to find a statistically better pair than 22-time Grand Slam winner Steffi Graf and her 8-time winner husband, Andre Agassi. Now, some people may cry foul because neither of them are playing anymore. And that's the only way Complex honestly could have left me off of the best teammates LeBron's ever had, is because I'm not playing. Channing Frye, I get, but not me. Look, there's Laird Hamilton, who co-invented toe-in surfing and in 2000 rode the heaviest wave known to man. While from 1993 to 1996, his wife, Gabrielle Reese, was the kills leader on the WBVL volleyball tour. That's a dominant couple, but they are not the most dominant couple. And I'll give you a hint. One of the athletes in this pairing was recently voted Seattle's most successful active athlete. And if after this weekend's comeback you said Russell Wilson, I wouldn't blame you. That might be my first guess. Because this guy is a damn winner. But you know what? You'd be wrong. The most dominant couple in sports is, drum roll please, they're gonna have some sort of drum roll, Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe. Bird has 4 Olympic gold medals, 4 world championship titles, 4 WNBA titles, and the most recent one was just a few days ago. In addition, she owns the WNBA record for most games played and career assists. Now add Rapinoe to the mix and you have another Olympic gold, 2 World Cup golds, a golden boot, and a golden ball from the 2019 World Cup. I don't know who gets bragging rights in that house, but I'm pretty sure there's not a power couple that can hold a candle to this headline. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the greatest of them all? A question as old as time. Godzilla or King Kong? NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? Evans, Hemsworth, or Pratt? Wait, did we forget Pine? How do we forget Pine? We can't forget Captain. Which one is the greatest Chris? I'm gonna probably say Evans, Pine, Hemsworth, and then Pratt. And I love Pratt, but you know, he's Pratt. And now with LeBron reaching his 10th NBA Finals and winning his 4th NBA championship, we can now turn our attention to the GOAT conversation on everyone's mind in sports and settle this argument once and for all. Roger Federer is the greatest men's tennis player of all time. I don't care what you have to say, there's no argument to be had. It's nothing to do with Grand Slams either. He's been the best the longest. As some of you may know, last weekend at the French Open, Rafa Nadal won his 20th Grand Slam title, tying him for the most all-time with Roger Federer. Last decade, Roger has been considered the all-time great. Now, some might say Rafa has age on his side. And I would say that if you can't see that Roger Federer is the greatest tennis player of all time, then you are on Team Cobra Kai. And I'm not talking about the new one, I'm talking about the old one, the bad guys. And this is not an opinion, this is a scientific fact. Look, it is impossible to accurately calculate the greatest anything because there are too many variables. Who's to say how Babe Ruth would stand up if all the baseball legends met on the same field at the same time at the same age? Babe Ruth played in an era where African Americans weren't even allowed to play. Stats and rings aren't all we're using to measure GOATs. So the Grand Slam argument in debating Rafa versus Roger comes up short. When people talk about the GOAT nowadays in basketball, people talk about MJ, who collected 6 rings. He was 6 for 6 in his championship run. But if it was based on rings, then it's blasphemous not to mention the all-time championship ring holder, Bill Russell. The NBA Finals MVP trophy is literally named after this man. And what about the NBA's all-time leader in points, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? No one's even talking about him as the GOAT, even though he holds the crown in the category that showcases an indisputable measurement for dominance and greatness. And he has 5 championships and 6 MVPs. The reason why people discredit Bill Russell is because the Celtics were stacked with Hall of Famers and the league was tiny. It had 10 teams total. With salaries so low, guys used to do construction in the offseason. They were like accountants. When Jordan won his 6 championships, there were 27 teams. LeBron now faces 30. The bigger the game gets, the harder the ring gets. Does Kobe's 5 equal MJ's 6? Is LeBron's 4 equal to Bill Russell's 11? The goal of the 92 Dream Team was to grow the game of basketball, and they did that. On opening day in 91-92 season, there were 23 players from 18 countries. This year, there are 108 players from 38 different countries. It's a lot harder to claim the GOAT title when the level of competition has grown exponentially the way it is. Would you rather be a big fish in a small pond like Bill Russell was, or a big fish in a bigger pond? That's what MJ and LeBron are. Or do you want to be the fish that survives the longest? Now you're talking about Kareem and you're talking about Bron. Longevity is why Roger Federer is the GOAT. From his French Open debut in 1999 to his semifinal run at the Australian Open this year, the longevity of Federer is astonishing. And if we're talking about all time, the person who was best for the longest should be a determining factor. Rafa and Joker may eclipse him in slams and stats fronts, but the conversation about greatest of all time requires time spent being the best, and Roger has that on lock completely. If you disagree with my tennis GOAT, it's cool. Look, in sports, as in life, we all make mistakes. You all make mistakes. Sometimes they are funny, like the Lakers leaving behind Quinn Cook after they won the championship.
QC? What QC at? Yo, we left QC, bro.
Just from, a singular experience, things can get crazy there. People are taking pictures with the trophies. People are doing interviews. Everyone has been drinking at this point in time, and pretty heavily and very rapidly, like it was last call. So all I'm saying is that mistakes can happen. And who doesn't remember where they were for Chris Webber's timeout call in the NCAA title game?
Webber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts remaining.
Oh, he causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
He called a timeout. Michigan doesn't have any.
And look, if you saw the 30 for 30, there were multiple people calling a timeout on that play. There were coaches and other players yelling at him to call a timeout. So obviously he was the one that did. Look, you can't even get on Twitter without seeing him doing a game and people yelling about calling a timeout. That's just etched in American sports history. Speaking of American sports history, how about Bill Buckner and the ball just bouncing right between his legs?
3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
And look, that wasn't even the last game. They still had another game to play where all of that probably would have been forgotten had the Red Sox won. Sometimes that's just the way the ball bounces.
James goes the other way, drives down the lane, back out to Green. Green for 3, off the mark, no good.
For the record, missed shots aren't mistakes, that's just the game. It's how far fans' reactions go. That's the mistake. This guy wasn't even trying to be funny, but he took time out from being a baby-saving hero to talk shit about the number 3 wide receiver for the Eagles. That's commitment.
My man just started throwing babies out the window. We was catching them, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps. I like to put that out there.
That's one of the funniest clips I will ever see in my entire life. And look, it's not just the random local news. When Snoop talks, the streets listen.
Get your ass in the gym right now and go work on your fucking shot. So when Bron throw the motherfucker, you make it, nigga.
Death threats might be a little too far. Look, players' lives depend on how they play the game, but don't threaten them. I mean, really, who doesn't want to win it all for their team at the end of the game and be the GOAT? Luckily, Danny Green was able to keep things in perspective.
It's a basketball game. People are emotional, fans are emotional. I hope they don't take it that seriously. I hope that they're that passionate about voting or getting justice for these people who deserve the justice. We'll get some better change along the country.
And look, Danny Green has won 3 championships now for 3 different teams. He's like 3rd all time in finals threes, and he missed his one, and we get death threats. This man wants to win. This man knows how to win. Sometimes you just miss those shots. After all, even GOATs can get it wrong. And when they don't own up to it, like Tom Brady, after perhaps not remembering what down it was and yelling at the refs, is just kind of a bad look.
Is it clear for you guys whether it was 3rd or 4th down on that last play?
Yeah, we just, you're up against the clock and you're up against I knew we had to gain a chunk, so I should have been thinking more first down instead of chunk on that down.
That's fair. Look, I'm buying it. And with your teammates, you got to come up with something to say to them also. The main thing with mistakes, like picking the GOAT, is just to give time before you rush to judgment. Some mistakes are unforgivable, like when you're the sportscaster for one of the hottest teams in football, but while on air, you think it's great time to work on your stand-up career? Suspended radio host Dory Munson learned, sharing your transphobia with the world and laughing at it in your own tweet is a quick way to get Munsoned in the middle of nowhere. Munson said this: "We follow science in Washington, the same state where I could change my birth certificate to say I was a girl on 10/2/61. Ha ha ha." Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we started the Sports Gap, because so much of this stuff goes on in sports. Look, no one's laughing. Speaking of pundits in a penalty box, thoughts and prayers go out to our guy, NFL insider Ian Rapoport, who has 2 weeks to think about his life after tweeting without clearance from the NFL Network. In his apology, Rapoport stated, "I will be off air until October 22nd. I respect and understand the decision made by the network, and I am deeply sorry for my mistake." But he never actually said what he's sorry for. Half the battle in earning forgiveness is in acknowledging the pain and hurt you caused others. So here at the Sports Gap, we have made it our duty to fully report the news and inform you that Rapoport was suspended, wait for it, for posting an advertisement about Manscaped lawnmower, a razor designed to clean your groin area. And that's why he got nicked. Bush League, Ian, I'm with you. It's hard for me to get through 2 puns in 2 sentences, but I think I nailed it. I think I got it. Here on the Sports Gap, we are dedicated to figuring out why he got suspended. We just happen to have a manscaping box here. They have ball cologne. I haven't tried this yet, but they got the man razor. They got the ball deodorant, the ball toner. That's something that, toned balls. Ladies, do you like toned balls? Do guys like toned balls? Ball deodorant, everybody has had swamp ass. I understand this. The ball cologne, like, I just don't know. They even have a special pair of underwear here. It says right there on the box, your balls will thank you. I don't know if putting alcohol on my balls and cologning them, my balls will thank me. Shout out to Manscaping for sending us this, but as a man, what does toned balls mean? What does toner do for your balls? And look, I just wanna make something very, very clear. I'm not getting paid by Manscaped. I'm just here to show you the package that I got from Manscaped that got Ian Rapoport suspended for 2 weeks. In this day and age when so much stuff is going on in social media, there are so many controversial issues. This is what gets you suspended. People, we are in a very, very weird time. Mistakes are like goats in sports. They require the perspective of time to really determine what is what and how the chips may fall. When in doubt, remember our motto here on this show. Go out and do your best. And when your best isn't good enough, manscape. And try and do it better next time. This is the Sports Gap. If you want new episodes as soon as they drop, go subscribe to The Sports Gap on YouTube.